Hello, everybody. How are you doing this fine Friday, July 18th? Well, if you are Shannon Sharpe, you are probably feeling a bit relieved. 1 hour ago, Tony Busby. Now, who is Tony Busby? Just to remind you about what's going on with this lawsuit quickly, this is the Jane Doe who Shannon Sharpe then just went immediately right onto Instagram, told everybody what her name was, Gabriella Zuniga, scandalizing the whole internet. And there were some tapes. There were some, I should say, recordings. I'm from the 1900s. Okay, so we had tapes, but there's some voice notes, some recordings, something of them doing some freaky stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I did wonder during the Cassie Diddy trial, the Diddy trial, but when the Cassie was doing her testimony and then when Jane was doing her testimony, like, is this going to discourage people from wanting to come forward and talk about what happened to them? And look, listen, I don't think all lawsuits are created equally. I've said this before, even in my prior coverage of this particular case, I do keep an open mind until I see all the evidence always. But sometimes it's kind of like, there's points to be made on either side. And sometimes one of the points on one of the sides to be made is these are SUL services that are offered and paid for and transacted upon. And sometimes the SUL services is performing things that are, let's say, taboo. Let's say if everybody wasn't in agreement, it might be even a crime. Okay. Like choking people, for example. And that was one of the things that was alleged. Shannon Sharpe, this big podcaster who's a football player and is really good. So it's like, I don't know where's the line. That's just one point though, right? There's like a lot of points to be made. So I don't want to seem reductionist here, but we're not going to be able to see it working out or playing out in Jane Doe versus Shannon Sharpe because it has been dismissed as of an hour ago. Okay. Busby was representing Jane Doe and he's the one who posted the Instagram post. He said Jane Doe versus Shannon Sharpe on April 20th. So it was on 4/20. 2025, the Busby law firm filed a complaint in Nevada, it's like Las Vegas, making several allegations against Shannon Sharpe on the behalf of their client. This is the Jane Doe. Look at the statement. It's very short. Both sides acknowledge a long-term, consensual, and tumultuous relationship. After protracted, that's like a lot. Like we went through it. Okay, protracted is like very long and drawn out. Watch, let me show y'all what protracted means. Protracted, adjective. It describes having lasted for a long time or longer than expected or usual. And it's used alongside words like bitter, a protracted and bitter dispute. So Tony Busby said after a long, hard battle and some respectful negotiations. Okay, so what does that tell us? They've been negotiating. I'm pleased to announce that we have reached a mutually agreed upon resolution. All matters have now been addressed satisfactorily, and the matter is closed. The lawsuit will thus be dismissed with prejudice. So I will tell you, I did go to check the docket, and as of right now, July 18th at about 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, there was nothing posted to the docket. But as far as like this, it's case closed or whatever, but I wouldn't expect it to be. I think it actually probably could be a couple weeks before we actually see the documents. But what this sounds like to me is that they have been doing some type of mediation, arbitration, negotiation of some sort to settle this dispute outside of court. Now, I do want to point out, very importantly, nowhere does it say settle. And I bet you they're going to be, they all craft these statements very carefully. And I bet you they're going to be trying to resist calling this a settlement. Now, in my opinion, from what my understanding of what a settlement is, they settled. But listen, it don't matter. It don't matter what I think it is. What matters is that the parties involved feel like they got to a fair resolution. Everybody felt like, this was better than trial. I hope that's what is going on. But noticeably, there is no mention of a settle here, right? It's just both sides acknowledge a long-term relationship. Although consensual, it was tumultuous. We did negotiations. We've reached a resolution. It's resolved. It's been resolved. All of this does happen before the backdrop of something real weird happened last week in court in this very case. In this very case, they had their first hearing, status conference, they call it, in Vegas. Well, Shannon Sharpe's lawyers showed up. I don't know if Shannon Sharpe himself showed up, but nobody on the Busby team showed up. Nobody on Jane Doe's side showed up. And the judge was like, what the hell? This is our first little meeting in the whole case. It's like kind of like bad etiquette. Well, days and days go by, and you finally start getting these weird little PR statements from like random little local newspaper or whatever. And it's like, Tony Busby tells reason why he missed court the other day. Let me see if I can find something like that. And that same article is now being spread around again yesterday and today. Oh, it's the Times of India. They posted it 3 hours ago. See, the Times of India, they are in on it. Okay. Whatever. This will still show you what was said. Courtroom Chaos. This is the same type of article that was being posted last week, but days after it happened. Maybe it was this week. Today's Friday. But like days after the July 9th court hearing, there was articles like this going around. Courtroom chaos. Shannon Sharpe's accuser's lawyer, that's Tony Busby, sparks outrage and blames secret postponement deal after skipping court. The already controversial assault lawsuit against NFL Hall of Famer and media personality Shannon Sharpe took another dramatic turn last week when the accuser's legal team failed to appear, that's Busby, at the initial court hearing in Las Vegas. The no-show left observers stunned and the presiding judge visibly disappointed, only for attorney Tony Busby to issue a statement days later that added even more questions than clarity. Quote, "We are apologizing to the court by letter for wasting the court's time. There was a mutual agreement among counsel to postpone the motion scheduled for July 9th. Okay, what is that? This was being posted, this was being reported days ago. There was Tony Busby's given a statement to the Times of India or whoever. Oh, Pro Football Talk, that's who it was. Attorney Tony Busby explains his no-show at recent hearing in the Shannon Sharpe civil lawsuit. Per Busby, who has shared a quote from Shannon Sharpe's counsel, the hearing had been postponed. I don't even know what that is. It looks like an AI wrote it. The confusion only deepened when the judge reportedly expressed disappointment in court, according to KLAS TV. She was disappointed over Busby's absence. Now, Shannon Sharpe's attorney, Robert DeMarco, he did attend the hearing and requested an extension to review the case, which the judge approved. The next scheduled court date is now set for September 3rd. So, with this in mind, it kind of starts to make sense. It kind of starts to fall in place a little bit. Tony Busby's like, oh, I thought we were settling. I didn't know we were doing, or I thought we were resolving. I thought we were doing a resolution. I didn't know we were doing showing up to freaking court in Las Vegas. But the judge, like whenever the judge was expressing her disappointment over the absence, mum's the word, apparently, from Shannon Sharpe's lawyer. They were like, oh no, we had court. We're here. We're at court. But if Tony Busby's Instagram post is to be believed, then there's not going to be a hearing on no September 3rd because we done. And good. I hope they're done. I hope they settled, and I hope everybody is happy and they don't drag us into it. So they get our cortisol up through the roof trying to keep everything sealed from the public. It's too much. It's too much. That being said, if Jane Doe is truly a victim of something, then I hope that she did and does feel like this is justice. As far as I'm concerned, case closed according to the public until it comes back up in the web somehow. But that's all I really had for this one. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation, and neither is reading a public little article or an Instagram post. Love you, mean it. Okay, bye.